Craig, I just want to finish up with one more area that you mentioned earlier, and I think it's really important is the word trust, because it's easy to say the word trust, but building trust within your own team, and equally important is building trust between teams on any large-scale event or project. Let's face it, events and projects, they come from the same type of dynamics, in that they're only successful as the level of synergy between each of them collectively as the entire system. In fact, I refer to large-scale events as the entire ecosystem of teams, because one team's success doesn't mean nothing. It's to any outcome, any project, or any event itself. So on trust itself, what is it that you think it's really important for project leaders to understand how to develop trust, not only on their own team, but how to develop it between the teams, because it's so crucial to performance in the end?
Well, I think there's a number of ways to come at it. You know that model I shared with you called committed conversations, which is I can accept, I can decline, I can counteroffer. That's like a trapeze act. So a trapeze, you have a catcher and you have a flyer, right? Okay, well, their hands have to meet together at exactly the agreed time. If the catcher is 1 second late, there's immediate feedback. Well, on projects, people are exchanging requests and promises with each other, much like the catcher promises the flyer to be there on time. It's called coordinated action, right? Okay, so here's part of it. People are going to commit to a lot of things on projects. They're not going to keep every commitment. Unless you're doing some tiddlywink junior mint thing, you're in a big project, you're going to be making big commitments, but you're not going to keep them all. So we need a mechanism to restore what I'm going to call integrity when we don't meet our commitments. Because if I promise to meet you somewhere and I don't show up, and I do that 2 times and I don't show up and I don't say anything, you're going to stop listening to me. It's going to erode the listening I have with you. But if I realize I'm not going to make it, and I call you up and go, Gordon, I'm so sorry. Something's come up. I can't make it. I apologize for the mess. Can we reschedule? That's called honoring my word, which is different than keeping my commitment. We're not going to keep all of our commitments, but we can always honor our word, and that restores the integrity, restores the listening, restores the trust. So again, this is all inside of effective communication and having the mechanisms to keep the integrity. When I say integrity, I don't mean moral integrity, I mean structural integrity. Like a bicycle wheel has 68 spokes. If you take out 2 or 3 spokes, you can still ride the bike. But over time, it will collapse because you messed with the integrity, right? So when I break my word with you, I've taken out a spoke. If I come to you and I apologize and I clean it up and I renegotiate a new promise, it's putting the spoke back in the wheel.
Craig, I have an analogy in that, and my team used to use it during the World Cup. I call them trust nuggets. You'll have many interactions every day in a day of your life, in a day of your team, and a day between teams. And you have an opportunity, you have 2 buckets. You have one filled with trust nuggets, and you can throw a nugget in each bucket, and that bucket fills up. But then you have another bucket that if something goes wrong, you get another nugget in that bucket. And quite honestly, getting a nugget in the negative bucket doesn't do you well, and you might need to empty out the good trust nugget bucket and start all over again. Because we work a lot on with event teams on actually how to develop that right from the beginning, the right onset, the right level of trust. And I'm a firm believer, I should say, that people come to work every day. We have a technical approach, and what we fail to do is sometimes is actually really understand another person's what their roles, responsibilities are, and really work on developing who they are in life and what they bring to the table. And as you indicated earlier, the more we listen to people, the more we try to understand them, you get an opportunity with actions. You can throw them or continue to throw trust nuggets. And it's really crucial, especially in the project and the event world. There's going to be many moments where you're going to need to call on somebody. And who do you call on? You call on the person that you've built a good, trusting relationship with. So if you don't do that intentionally, how will you know who to call on in a time of crisis? And I think, like I said, at least in the event world, the crisis happens all the time.
It does. There's just one thing I want to share that you triggered in your World Cup. I watch footy sometimes, okay? And the thing that I'm always amazed at is every time somebody scores, they run around the field, their mates pick them up, throw them over their shoulder, cheer them, the crowd's cheering. And I think, I work with projects where people are accomplishing things every day. Nobody says anything. It's just like getting your job done. Imagine if you had that kind of great job today, because you're moving and inspiring people, you're lifting people. That makes them want to come to work the next day. But if they work their ass off, produce things, and nobody says anything.
At the end of the day, Craig, is creating the right environment. And part of that culture is part of the stuff that we're talking about as well, is create that kind of system where you're actually thanking people and so forth. And that's all part of the 6 conditions of the optimal work environment for any event teams and event organizations starting off. So, Craig, tell me, where are you at now? What's next for you?
We are working in Houston. It's changed from WebEx to virtual, and we're doing some work and opening up HIP in India. And then we're pursuing some work in Doha, not in the oil and gas business, but more in the upskilling, organizational upskilling side of things. Yeah.
Well, I truly wish you the best, Greg. Thank you so much for sharing your insight today on complex projects and so forth like that. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining our podcast today. And our next podcast will be on the art of communication. Is that right? The words we use, the tone we use, and the physiology, and how it impacts not only individual team performance, but a collective performance for the entire ecosystems of teams. In the meantime, click on www.eventteaming.com, where you'll see helpful articles, our podcast broadcasts, and wealth of other info, including our event teaming playbook on any event organization if they really wanted to create an optimal work environment from the beginning for their teams to be successful from planning to execution. That's a good start. Have a look at the playbook on the website. Thank you so much and have a tremendous day.